Well, good morning out there to YouTube land. We are here for our 303rd day for this awesome challenge, and we're going to read 2 Kings, the third chapter today. I am having ice water, and you see my summer vibe cup again, one of my favorite cups. We're going to get started without further ado. Now Jehoram, the son of Ahab, became king over Israel at Samaria in the 18th year of Jehoshaphat, king of Judah, and reigned 12 years. And he did evil in the sight of the Lord, but not like his father and mother, for he put away the sacred pillar of Baal that his father had made. Nevertheless, he persisted in the sins of Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, who had made Israel sin. He did not depart from them. Now Mashah, king of Moab, was a sheep breeder, and he regularly paid the king of Israel 100,000 lambs and the wool of 100,000 rams. But it happened when Ahab died that the king of Moab rebelled against the king of Israel. So King Jehoram went out of Samaria at that time and mustered all Israel. Then he went and sent to Jehoshaphat, king of Judah, saying, "The king of Moab has rebelled against me. Will you go with me to fight against Moab?" And he said, "I will go up. I am as you are, my people as your people, my horses as your horse." Then he said, "Which way shall we go up?" And he answered, "By way of the wilderness of Edom." So the king of Israel went with the king of Judah and the king of Edom, and they marched on that roundabout route 7 days, and there was no water for the army, nor for the animals that followed them. And the king of Israel said, "Alas! For the Lord has called these three kings together to deliver them into the hand of Moab." May God add a blessing to the reading of that lesson. And to get into the Bible application, we're going to go ahead and jump into it right now. Although 1:17 says that Jehoram was king of Judah, says that 3:1 says that Jehoshaphat was Judah's king. As a king grew older, it was common for his son to rule beside him. Jehoshaphat, nearing the end of his reign, appointed his son Jehoram to rule with him. Jehoram, also called Joram, served as co-ruler with Jehoshaphat for 5 years. He is mentioned again in 8:16 through 24. I guess that's 2 Kings 8:16-24. Thus the kings of Israel and Judah had the same name, Jehoram. Jehoram, king of Israel, was Ahab's son and Ahaziah's brother, and Hazael served as kings of Israel before Jehoram. These people names rhyme. I mean, literally, they're very similar, y'all. Very similar. The sins of Israel's kings are often compared to the sins of Jeroboam, the first ruler of the northern kingdom of Israel. His great sin was to institute idol worship throughout his kingdom, causing people to turn away from God. By ignoring God and allowing idol worship, Jehoram clung to Jeroboam's sins. Israel and Judah held some of the most fertile land and strategic positions in the ancient Near East. It is no wonder that neighboring nations like Moab envied them and constantly attempted to seize the land. Moab lay just southeast of Israel. The country had been under Israel's control for some time due to Ahab's strong military leadership. When Ahab died, Mashah, the Moabite king, took the opportunity to rebel, while Israel's next king, Ahaziah, did nothing about the revolt. His successor, Jehoram, decided to take action. He joined forces with Jehoshaphat, king of Judah, and went to fight the Moabites. Together, Israel and Judah brought the Moabites to the brink of surrender. But when they saw the Moabite king sacrifice his own son and successor, they withdrew even though they had won the battle. Moab fought many other battles with both Israel and Judah. Some of them, in fact, were recorded by Masha, who carved his exploits on a plaque called the Moabite Stone. Edom was under Judah's control, thus they marched with them, making 3 kings. Jehoshaphat's request for a prophet of the Lord shows how true worship and religious experience in both Israel and Judah had declined. In David's day, both the high priests and the prophets gave the king advice, but most of the priests had left Israel, and God's prophets were seen as messengers of doom. This miracle, predicted by Elisha, affirmed God's power and authority and validated Elisha's ministry. In 2 Chronicles 18, King Jehoshaphat of Judah and King Ahab of Israel gave the prophet Micaiah a similar request, but they ignored God's advice with disastrous results. In Old Testament times, music often accompanied prophecy. The morning sacrifice was one of the 2 sacrifices that the priests were required to offer each day. Each man threw a stone on every good piece of land and filled it. Means the Israelites scattered stones over the land to make it unfit for farming, They also filled the wells and cut down the fruit trees. Their victory was complete. May God add a blessing to that complete application summary. And that's for the whole chapter. But go back and finish reading the chapter because it's just the right thing that we're trying to do in this effort of reading the whole entire Bible. To be honest, I have catching up to do as well as far as finishing up the chapters. But please go back whenever you have time. Maybe have a bookmarker, have your highlighters, kind of, try to keep up with where you start, where you stop off at, because I know we're busy. We have these busy schedules throughout our days. We work, we take care of our parents, we take care of our children, we're homemakers, we do everything, right? And that's why we make the time for the Bible challenge. If we don't have time for the rest of the day, at least we know we got in the Bible challenge. And that's why it's a challenge, because it's a challenge against life. And Lord knows it's a challenge against my life. But you know what? I feel good, and it's well worth it, because without the Bible challenge, without you all helping me to be accountable, because I brought this on YouTube so that I have accountability, and I hope that I am accountability to you all as well. Amen. As we draw closer to the Lord. And read my shirt, follow suit, and I love you. Enjoy the rest of your week. Bye.